I don't mind talking about it, but oh my god, even talking about it makes me so mad. Okay, so this is in regards to me being legally female. And in my other video, I talked about how, I did change my gender legally to male, but when I detransitioned, I changed it back, and I have no intentions of going back to male legally. So, oh my god, this was infuriating. So, I think really what it was is the woman who was working at the DMV was just really like old school and bigoted and shit. I really don't know. It was crazy. Okay. So she gave me the form, which it's a, standard form to have, like, the doctor sign off on your, gender change or whatever. So I did that, and she wouldn't accept the signature because even though it said you could have like an LPN or whatever, she was like, nope, it has to be a physician. So I came back literally, like, I don't think she expected me to come back that quick. I came back within 2 hours because my doctor, he is super LGBT friendly, and he just signed that, and he got a doctor ahead of him too to sign it. And I went back with like 3 different signatures. She still didn't want to accept it. Oh my god. So then she literally sits there behind the desk, and she starts Googling the name of this doctor, as in like I must have forged the papers, or like it's like there's 3 doctors' signatures on it. And so she starts Googling it. So I guess one of the doctors that signed it came up as an orthopedic surgeon, which for one, he wasn't, but for two, even if he was, it doesn't fucking matter. It's still a physician. So she was like, well, this says here that he's an orthopedic surgeon. So, and I'm like, there's 2 other signatures there. Yeah, but this one. And I'm like, it doesn't fucking matter. Oh my god, she was doing anything to not give me that gender change until finally I just said, I'm like, do you hassle everybody like this? Do you? And somebody else heard, like another worker who, she's always so kind to me when I go there, and she came over and she saw what was happening, and she's like, just sign it off. Just sign it off. Like, she was pissed off. I ended up writing like a real, like, well-written letter to the DMV. And like I don't know, I forget who I wrote to aside from the DMV. Nobody ever got back to me. I live in a state where, although they're getting, like it's New Hampshire, although they're getting a little bit more progressive, it's still conservative. I live in a very conservative part of it. So it's just like, this shit is very common, and it's so infuriating. Oh my god. So yeah, I am never going through that shit again. Thank you for your question. Hi, so I actually get this question a lot, and I think a lot of people are under the assumption that my son's biological father must just never be around, and he must have just like ran off or something, or I don't know. I just kind of get that vibe that a lot of people think that like my husband stepped in and took over or something like that. But no, that's not the case. My son's father was very active in his life, and he ended up passing away fairly recently, not that long ago. And it has been hard. I'm still processing a lot with it. Like, I go from being furious to like upset, and then honestly sometimes to not caring at all, just because I'm so furious that it just turns into not caring. It is hard because even though we didn't always see eye to eye and stuff, like, we talked every single day, like, and at one point we were very close friends. I mean, very, very close friends. So it's rough. And for my son, he obviously, like, he struggles too. He does struggle. I don't think he understands a lot of it, to be honest. I've approached it from several angles. I don't think he really understands it yet. Yeah, it's hard. We're very, very lucky to have, my husband, and I'm not saying that as a way to be like, because he takes his spot right now. I'm not saying that. But the thing is, I think sometimes in someone's death, we romanticize how they were and see them with rose-colored glasses. And the truth is, his dad was a very active father, and he wanted so bad to be a good father, but he had his own demons, and the lifestyle he lived wasn't always safe for our son. And I really wish he could have tackled those demons so that he could have been, a safer role model and stuff, because I know he really wanted to. He really wanted to. So yeah, there might not be any correlation at all, but it was very hard because I got married. And then 6 days later, my son's father was like blowing out my phone, and I was advised not to answer phone calls from my lawyer because it was very volatile at the time, so I didn't answer. And then literally that night, he overdosed on fentanyl. And so I would like to believe it wasn't intentional, but I think that's a big coincidence. So sometimes I have to deal with that, like navigating the emotions surrounding that. But yeah, it's rough for both my son and I sometimes. So yeah, that's a story about my son's father. Hi, thank you for your question. No, I was not with my husband when I transitioned. I had already been transitioning for probably 2 years, I think it was, because I was like a year out of top surgery, I believe. And I mean, I'm pretty sure he knew I was trans from the jump, because I did have facial hair at the time, so I passed, but it was like online, so I'm pretty sure in my dating profile I mentioned being trans. Yeah, he doesn't care at all. He doesn't care. One thing I do like about my relationship with my husband is that I'm the first trans man he's ever dated. I love that. I love that, like, if he wasn't with me, I know he'd be with a cis man, and I actually, like, find that great because I know that he really views me as a man. And that's after he stayed with me. When if you're new, my liver started to fail on testosterone. I detransitioned for like a month and presented as a woman. It only lasted like a month and a half, but he stayed with me. And even after that, even after all that, he still views me as a dude. Actually, he says that, he says when I detransition, he's like, I'm sorry, but I know you as a man. So, like, when I looked at you, it was like, you were still a man. You just like, had extensions. I don't know. But yeah, I really like that about my husband, that, he'd be with me either way. I think that's good. I love that. Because, to be honest, before I met my husband, I know I'm rambling on, but, like, I actually talked to a few women who, like, I'd be like, have you ever dated a trans man before? They'd be like, one of them said she had dated 7. I don't even know 7. Hi, thank you for your question. So actually my husband, didn't, know me when I started to transition. I met him as a man already. He did stick by me when, my liver started to fail on testosterone and I detransitioned for a short period. But yeah, my husband is a gay man. He met me as a man. Yeah, I don't know. But the video was in reference to my gender is legally female. I've been transitioning for quite a while now, and, I have had my gender changed to male. I really have no intentions of changing it back to male again, for a few reasons. First, I live in a conservative state, and it was horrible changing my gender. Horrible. So I don't want to go through that again. Second of all, and a lot of people view this as an irrational fear, but I am not risking ever going to men's prison. I don't do anything wrong, but I've been around long enough to know that you literally don't have to do anything wrong to get held in a jail cell, to get booked into any type of facility, really. So I'm not going to risk it, and that is also because I also, and I know this is controversial, but I do believe in biology. I don't have the bone density of a man. I don't have the muscle mass of a man right now. I haven't been on testosterone. Testosterone is what usually contributes to the increase in those things. Also, I haven't had bottom surgery. So all those things, if I were ever to be booked into a male's prison, would put me at huge risk. And a lot of people are like, oh no, if you haven't had bottom surgery, you always go to women's. That's not true. That is not true. There are not protections in place in most states. Usually you're just booked how you're booked. There's really no federal regulation about it, which is very scary. I don't think a lot of trans men know that. So yeah. Also, I'd have to be in a different state because I ain't dealing with that bullshit again. That was horrible change in my gender. My name change, smooth as shit. My gender change, oh my god, horrible. It's just my state, man. Probably just my fucking town. Hi, thank you for your question. I actually recently answered this, but I haven't done one for my YouTube, so I figured like this would be a good chance. So yes, I did present as a masculine lesbian for a while, and I actually this is I'm not saying across the board, but it's pretty common with trans men. I can only speak from my experience. I understand why this is a confusing scenario, because how can you go from being a lesbian and like dating strictly women to all of a sudden like being trans and dating a guy, well, in my case being married to a guy. So in my experience, when I identified as a lesbian, I knew I wasn't I knew I didn't just like girls, you know what I mean? But presenting as a masculine lesbian, I could dress how I wanted. The world viewed me as more masculine, so I was treated as such. Even though I didn't always pass as male, I did sometimes get regarded as a male, or at least a masculine figure, so it was much more validating, it was much more comfortable. So even though the aspect of who I was attracted to wasn't lining up, at least all those spots were beginning to be filled a little bit. So for me, it just felt like, at least for that time being, I could at least like present a certain way, like be respected to an extent as who I wanted to be regarded as a little bit. So it did take some of the dysphoria away, honestly. I mean, obviously it didn't take it completely away because I was still, a woman, but it helped a little bit. And not only that, a lot of people experience changes in who they're attracted to once they start HRT, or when they start feeling comfortable in their body, when they do get access to transition, whether that be medically or socially, whatever. So those are some other reasons why sometimes people identify as lesbians and then transition later on. So I hope that helps a little bit. Thank you. Hi, thank you for your question. I get asked this a lot as well, and I've only explained it a couple times because I know my story already confuses people. Like, I transitioned from female to male, and now I'm married to a guy, and a lot of people, when they find out that, like, he wasn't with me beforehand, and he's a gay dude, they're like, why would you transition just to date a man? Like, they don't understand, they don't have anything to do with one another, and I understand that it's confusing, so I usually try not to add anything else, and I just will like let people assume that I'm gay. It's easier. But hold on, my husband just texted me actually. Okay. No, I'm not gay. I'm bisexual. I love women, I love men, but I especially love the man I'm with, and I'm gonna be with him till I die, so it's irrelevant. But yeah, for anyone wondering, my husband is actually the first man I've dated like as a guy. A lot of people are like, what about your son's father? I'm saying as a guy, like post-transit, I had already like been transitioning for a while once I met, like I had already had top surgery, been on testosterone for like a while, like a long time. And so like, I mean, I was already living as male for a long time, and I had never dated a man as a man. I had only dated women as a man. So he's my first, guy I've ever dated as a man, and it just happened that I fell in love with him. And on the same token, like, I'm the first trans guy I think that he's been with. Yeah, I am. And I mean, I'm kind of happy about that. Like, sometimes I get a little, like, obviously, like, I get insecure because, I'm not a cis man, and that causes dysphoria sometimes. But at the same time, like, it's a good feeling that if, that your partner, like, doesn't prefer trans men. Because first of all, that's, like, icky to me. But, like, second of all, I like it because I know he views me as a dude, because he likes dudes. I don't know. So yeah, that's my 411 on my sexuality. I don't know. That's it. Thank you. Hi, thank you for your question. So I'm very blessed in the fact that my parents were pretty supportive. They had a little trouble with surgery. Like, they were a little reserved about me having, my top surgery and stuff. But they were still supportive. They were still there for me. I think a lot of it has to do with they saw me struggle with my identity for so long. I don't think it was a huge surprise to them. I don't think. My father, he is like I grew up Irish Catholic. My father, is in some ways he's not traditional because he's a musician, but in other ways he's very traditional. And I know it was hard for him to understand, but he was right there when I woke up from top surgery. He was right there with me. And so, you know, and my mom, like, she took care of my son when I was, like, you know, I wouldn't have been able to have it even if it wasn't for her. So I think that, like, even if they had, like, reservations and they were nervous, like, they still were there for me, and I'm very thankful for that because I know a lot of people don't have that. So I do have a story, though, that's kind of funny. So there's some people, like, you know, in my life from when I, you know, presented as a woman, that, you know, I kind of just have really no interest in talking to, because I think they'd be so shocked by, you know, who I am now. I've seen them a couple of times in stores and they don't know who I am. There's some people I just would rather they not know. I'm sure they know now because of TikTok, but what's funny is I actually, one of them reached out to me, like, you know, maybe a year or two ago, and I had told them, like, you know, that I transitioned and I was so afraid of how they were going to react. I was so scared, and they were like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm like, what? Like, they're the last person that I would think would suspect that I'm transgender. And they were like, oh yeah, no, it definitely makes sense. You know, like, I can definitely see it. And, you know, and I think that happens a lot. Like, when people come out, like, people aren't shocked. And you're just like, how are you not, like, insanely shocked right now? And it's like, you didn't really hide it well. To me, I hid it great. I hid it great. I thought I did a great job at hiding it. Apparently not. My son's school was very accepting. Most of them were very accepting. Most of them. My son only missed, like, maybe 1-2 days of school when I got surgery. I was very strict about that, and they still gave me shit for it. And it was preschool. He didn't even need to be in it. But yeah, everyone was pretty cool. Thank you for your question.